Welcome to yet another episode of the Disruption Talks, where we invite top experts to discuss digital acceleration, winning strategies, innovation, and scaling products. So today the key topic is IT dynamics in retail, discovery the whys and hows. I'm Barbara. I'm a commercial director in retail at NetGuru. And today our guest is Kamil Jackiewicz, who is head of IT development and QA at Pepco.
Hello, nice to meet you all.
Hello, Kamil. How are you today? How's your day?
Yeah, that's pretty great. Great Tuesday. As we spoke, probably the most productive day, so looking forward.
Yes, we had a short conversation a minute ago with Kamil that Tuesdays are statistically the busiest days of the week. So here we are. I hope everybody's tuned in already. And I think we can kick off, Kamil.
Absolutely.
So if today we're discussing the whys and hows about IT in retail, I wanted to first of all let everybody get to know you a little bit better. And I wanted to discuss a little bit about you and about your career in IT, and specifically IT in retail. So what inspired you to pursue that career?
Well, what inspired the IT itself, it was probably just a kind of coincidence or quick conversation with when I was really young, like 5 or 6. My mother asked me what I would like to do and when I will grow up and so on, and I didn't know, as usually the small kids don't know it. She proposed maybe you would like to be some kind of architect, or maybe the informatic, because like those times was that kind of name. And I didn't know what it's. I realized myself sitting somewhere in the hall of the station and explaining people how to get the information, sharing the information, explaining how to get to some points. It didn't work with me at the beginning, but then over the time I discovered more and more, and actually I discovered that that's the way forward. After years, I discovered that actually that's what I'm doing. I'm sitting and talking and explaining people how to get to some specific place they want to get. So it was not so far from what I thought. And that was like that early beginning. Through the chain of the events, I just ended up with the technical path, with the university, and I really like it. Like the beginning. And really soon it appeared that the technical part is the one part of life, but actually applying it to the real life is something that is even more exciting. So not only know how to do it, but where to do it, what solution exactly do you need to some purpose. That was like discovering the part of IT management, I would say, in my case. And that led me to finally to the retail, and the same. It was at the beginning a bit of coincidence, but I believe that it's not fully a coincidence. I was approached by one of the guys from Pepco, actually, sharing that offer, the first offer that I applied, and I was like thinking like the leitmotif. Why the heck they need the IT in retail? That was like the first thought. What they are looking like Pepco. I knew just some stores and something like that. What's in it? Why it's really important? And then I stepped in, and it appears like really inspiring and really thoughtful, I would say, journey after all. That you discover why this IT is here, and it's far from what I thought at the beginning it will look like. It's far more complex. It's far more inspiring and challenging as well.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the beginning. This is how I ended up here.
Okay, brilliant. Well, life is full of coincidences. It seemed a bit, the coincidences in your life are interconnected. You can clearly see that.
And we just sometimes don't. Yeah. We sometimes don't see it at the beginning, but then when you look backwards, you see how it's all connected.
Exactly. That's absolutely true. And I'm wondering if you could like share some maybe milestones in your career that shaped as well your career journey in Pepco that shaped your approach that you have in Pepco. If you could tell us about this a little bit, that would be great.
So I think that those milestones started earlier. Like the first, I already mentioned that the shift from being like the technical. I graduated as computer science. So it was like purely technical direction of studies. The first shift was actually discovering that it's for me. It's not for everyone. Like it's personal preference. For me, it's more satisfying, more inspiring to help people understand what's about like how this technical world works, how it looks like, how it can be applied. So that was the first shift when I found out that okay, that software engineering is cool and it's really really good things to do, like very satisfying. You can create the products, you can answer the real needs, but it's even more jazzy, I would say, to manage that, so to explain how it's written, how it can be developed, what you can do to make it faster, and so on. So that was the first milestone when I actually discovered that okay, this management of IT is something that drives me more, and I find myself better in that role. The second shift was, I think, I would connect it with the discovery of the project management, all related with agile methodologies. At those times, it was like not so far after the Agile Manifesto was signed off. Well, a few years after, I had the pleasure to meet one of the co-signers of that, Arifan Benekul, years ago, and he really like brought that insight of what they actually were thinking about when they were signing it off, and it's sometimes a bit different from what is right now understood as an agile. But it was like that's the second shift, I would say, that happened, or second milestone, when I actually discovered that you can manage it not only in an efficient way, but also some kind of structured way. And it brings you some benefits, some real benefits. And the third one was actually stepping into the retail world. I started from being responsible for operations, so everything that was happening on the floor, on the offices of the company, that was all supported by the software here, and that was really eyes-opening experience to know how the retail works from the background, what challenges it faces, how much it is sometimes chaotic, sometimes complex, and you need to drive your way through it. So that was the third part.
Okay.
And then set of that, I think this is what I would like to. I see like defining milestones, if you ask for that.
Okay. Well, that sounds great. And if you had a chance to meet the person signing the Agile Manifesto, I mean, that must have had a big impact as well on how you perceive that technology. Yeah.
This also gives you that kind of feeling that something that you thought when you start learning about it is like the holy grail or something like that. Yeah. And when you actually meet those guys and you see like how they are thinking, that they are not so superb or perfect human beings out of the pages of the book. This also changes the perception that actually like you can be the next one like that. You can do everything you want. It's just you need to have the courage to step out and say about something that you think it's the right thing to do.
I think it's a great summary of what you just mentioned. And that leads me to my next question, actually, because I'm wondering if there's any unconventional skill or hobby from your personal life that you found particularly valuable in your IT career.
Well, probably there are a few. When I was to think about the most important, I think that's something I would call problem solving, but it's not just problem solving. It's the approach that you need to remember, which is quite difficult to remember when it's getting hot and a lot of emotions are flying around.
Okay.
It's to stay on the facts, like gather all the facts. Sometimes to help you out to write it down, and they then take the proper decision. Ask for advice if it's needed, and even if you think it's not needed, it's sometimes wise to ask for advice to check if you are thinking the most effective way, and after all, take the decision. And this set of, like, it's more like an attitude rather than a skill, but you need to train that in difficult circumstances to actually say that you are able to do it under stress. And that's something that, from what I see, it's something that I learned probably over the years of, like, childhood, and then when I grew up, like when I was exposed to many situations like that, like, I started, like, I was singing in the choir as a small child till now,
Okay.
and I was traveling without the parents, for example, when I was, I don't know, 9 or 10.
Yeah.
It required from you to be self-efficient, I would say, to be, it exposed you to additional dose of stress that you need to manage and to deal with it by yourself. And that was like, since the beginning, the good training to be now in the retail. It's really something
Right.
that
Right.
I
Again,
appreciate when I look back.
you would call it coincidence, but it wasn't a coincidence, probably, right? I mean,
Exactly.
again,
It's about the coincidences. It's, I think, something like, it's a matter of how much of those coincidences you get and push into the one direction. That's what the key with using the coincidences.
right, right. And moving a little bit to the industry prism, I think we got into that topic a little bit already, but I'm just wondering, what do you think the unique IT challenges and opportunities within the retail industry are?
So the first, and I think the most common of the challenges, is probably something that we called as like our working name is the chaos. Although I would say it's a really fast pace of the changes that are happening. That's something that is quite common to the retailers because of the multiple factors. If you need to pursue your customer, that's the first and the most important. Without that, you don't do the business. So if you want to stay on top of all the trends, all the customs that your clients, customers have, you need to be really, really fast in following that. And that's something that, from my observation, is not as common in other industries, not all of them, because usually those habits, when it comes, for example, buying the cars, it's not so volatile or so vulnerable to any trends and so on. It's like it changes over the years, whereas in retail it can be 1 week that way, and second week, because of the weather, it changes totally.
Of
And
course.
that's something that I think drives it. And also, like, yeah, being the retailer, you always need to take care of your costs, and that's why you cannot afford all the, I would say, industry behind that changing, like behind this change management, that following change. You need to really be fast and really cheap and cost effective if you want to sell the products at the good prices. Of course, that can be already like the kind of facet of like the value retailer, which we are as Pepco. So yeah, that's something that may be a bit specific for that part of the retail that we are, but I see that it's quite common for the companies like we are.
Okay.
So yeah, the changes, the pace of it, sometimes the kind of chaos that is at least appears from time to time.
Absolutely. And Pepco has a presence in 19 European countries. So how do you how does IT support the company's expansion? And how do you keep the operational efficiency across borders? Because that's a lot of countries.
That's the most challenging part.
Okay.
How to keep it efficient. Especially we are the company that is driven here from Poznań. The IT is centrally managed for entire Pepco network. So we need to take the decisions, including that those 19 countries, and we need to be sure that the decisions are following that, like some local regulations or some local demands. And to do that, like for example, our store opening team, they do the hectic work of opening the stores on each market. They really need to be well communicated between themselves, so to coordinate between themselves what they are doing, which countries, which stores they are opening. So that's all about communication and making sure that we know what else needs to be done. And that's sometimes struggle to get, for example, visibility of what exactly will be happening in 2 or 3 months, because it's changing, and sometimes it's just people just don't know it yet. But you need to prepare for it, and sometimes you need to be prepared for more than you plan for, because you never know what waits for you over the corner. What are the surprises that you need to be ready for?
And are the shopping experience, like shopping trends, let's say, similar to one country to another, or do you see like specific differences in between one country that you operate to another country that you operate at?
So there are some differences. Like generally, as we watch closely mostly the Central Eastern European is Europe. We started our journey to the Western Europe like 2 years ago.
Okay.
First of all, we see that there is a difference between that. It's like obvious for obvious reasons, like the level of the development of the countries, the level of the budgets that the customer has to be disposed. That's something that's obvious, but also I see that the difference in I start to see, like that's my observation, that there is a slightly different need, like whereas the customers on the Western side looks for more, maybe not yet luxury, but more higher quality, I would say, products. In the old or the core part of our business, it's still visible that we are mostly selling the good products that they are used to it for the best price and so on. And there is a difference, for example, it's not directly related with what we are offering, but for example, the approach to the fresh products versus processed products, that's still visible. And also there are differences that we observe in the way customers do their shopping, not what they are looking for, but also the way. For example, like we are quite used to the electronic payments and so on, whereas in Germany it's like totally, I would say, maybe not anymore the niche part, but they are still prefer to pay with the cash. That's why we needed to train like how to use the cash machines in our self checkouts and so on. That's a difference that is already impacting you as a like IT provider for that business, because you need to factor it in. So there are no, like, summarizing that there are no big differences, but there are also some small specific customs that we see that also influence it, and you need to remember about it, because like providing just unified service or experience to the customer, like the one coming from the central, from the headquarter to every country, probably wouldn't make that experience so loved by the customers. I think that's something that you need to respect. That there are some local customs.
Of course, of course. Each country shops in their own way, in a way, and it's interesting the difference that you mentioned. And I'm wondering, how does your team, because it's your team that supports that whole scale. How do you build? How do you build the scale, and how can I know that that I'm a good employee at Pepco, working with that
So
scale?
the first thing that I think it's noticeable by the candidates, at least from what I'm hearing from them, is the fact that since the day one when you start, we try to focus on our culture. We call it pet culture. That's something that we try to match the candidates
Do you do
also
pep
from that.
talks as well?
Sorry.
Do you do pep talks?
Yeah, pep talks. There is another good hashtags that you can look for. Get share after all. Generally, that's something that the candidates and the new starters are recognizing. Like it's distinguished that, for example, the separate part of the training of the induction is devoted to those values. We try to live with them. It's not always easy. It's challenging from time to time, but whenever there is the decision, that the important decision to be taken, we always take a look if we are compliant with it or not. So the first part, we try to build the teams and they gather people that also shares those values. So that's something that works here. Also, we try to get the people who are who has a kind of courage to go out, to ask difficult questions, to challenge sometimes what's the status quo here. There is a good graphic. One of the managers from my team I think she has it on the profile. It's some card saying challenge everything, and someone added this picture why. That's something that we look for. To actually try to change that how we are working, why we are working like that. That's something that is really welcome and really needed, to be honest, and if you want to be successful in retail in Pepco. And also one thing that we take into consideration is your curiosity and willingness to learn. That's something that we are looking for, because Pepco is, I can testify it, like it's a great place to learn, to grow yourself as well, just if you want to use that opportunity. So it's not, and it's also like from my discussion from colleagues from other companies, it's like not so common that like it is in Pepco, that you have a lot of the influence. You can do a lot of things. You can try a lot of the ideas here without being I don't know, limited by the structures, by the frameworks, governance, and so on. That's something that these environments allows you to do. It's not easy because it requires that courage and going on, and sometimes a lot of the motivation as well. But it's really the environment that gives you that opportunity. So it's a challenge. It's an opportunity at once, and that's what we are looking at. This is also how we try to build the teams. We rather look for the people that want to learn and grow here, rather than I would say the ultimate high-tech experts, because we are we are retail company still. We are not a high-tech company, and that's something that I would recommend every candidate should think about. Like, am I open to work in that kind of environment and that kind of company? Because probably sometimes like some of the technologies, some of the newest technologies will be not applicable here. Our main goal is to deliver the best products in the best prices to the customers. That's why we need to wisely choose what technologies we are using, and not always the choices to use the newest, the freshest one. Sure. Although on the real life, it appears that we are quite operating at quite, I would say, yeah, maybe not jazzy, but quite modern stack. So it's also not an issue here. That's in few words how it looks like.
Okay. And can you highlight some projects, preferably recent IT projects, or some solutions that had a significant impact on your Pepco's operations, or some customer experience? It can be in a different country as well, of course.
So I think that one of the examples is probably our self-checkout that has been introduced in 2021, I think. So it's not like a totally fresh one,
Right.
but it was one of the, I would say, most challenging projects in those times. We made a decision to step into the Spanish, so it was a direction to the Western Europe as well,
Okay.
to the Spanish market. And I think around October, we decided, okay, we would like to try the self checkouts to be there. Previously, we were not using it, but from everywhere we had the questions like when we are going to start to use it, when there will be self checkouts. That was something that was already awaited and expected, and we did some analysis and we decided to step in. The tricky part was that it was late October, beginning of November, and the opening date was April. So we had exactly 5 months, like almost 6, to prepare that, to integrate with the software, to deploy it successfully. That was really changing time and challenging project, but I will not go into the details how it ended up, because it wasn't so only success story. There were a lot of problems and struggles also after that. But the main goal was achieved at that moment. So we opened the country with the self checkouts, and it brought like really good numbers at the beginning. Now we are continuing like rolling out of that together with the rebranding project that is happening. Some of you may have already seen it or experienced it in your local store. But that was like really, I would say, changing how the customers can cooperate, what's their experience. And at the moment, I would say like probably half of the traffic is already there. So it really is used.
Okay, well that sounds amazing. So did I understand correctly that Spain was the first market that you introduced the personal checkout?
Technically, I think it was Italy when we started piloting it, but it was more or less the same time when we started. And yes, the full country already with embedded self checkouts was Spain. Now we try to roll it back, so you can experience it in most of the bigger cities in Poland, for example, already has it.
Okay, amazing. I think it was also COVID or a little bit post-COVID times when these features were extremely important. I mean, that's the right, very relevant time to roll out such a functionality as well.
That was exactly that time after all the lockdowns. So yes, that also was one of the reasons why it was expected and why we went into it.
Okay. And what are the? I mean, we touched upon this topic a little bit, but maybe there are some other things that you'd like to add in here. I'm just wondering about some challenges and opportunities you've encountered in implementing IT solutions within a multi-country retail environment. I think the one example that you've mentioned is a part of it, but if there's anything that you'd like to add, now is the time.
Well, the multi-country challenge, I would say, is the challenge itself for the retailer, because we need to prepare the store and the software, the deals to be ready for operating against like in line with the multiple like legal systems, tax systems, and so on. So despite the fact that we try to have all the functionalities like coming from the mainstream available for every country, still there are some local requirements that we need to fulfill. One country requires some, for example, electronic invoices, another doesn't. There are some fiscal printers versus non-fiscal systems, and you need to manage that differences and factor into one version of the software. So that's, I think, from the software perspective, is the most difficult, how to maintain one version of the system, like the core, and applying only the changes that are specific for the country.
Yeah.
Like theoretically, it's not a big deal, but practically, when you need to manage that on 19 countries, what is the level of upgrade of each store, each deal? That becomes really more and more complex, and you need to change. You need to manage that. That's the challenge itself. And so far, like, I didn't find any golden rule or silver bullet that would solve all the problems. But definitely all the best practices from the software world will help you, like, managing the code in one branch. It's one, like, adding the changes only as some, like, settings or optional add-ons, something like that. That will help you, but still, that's the challenge.
Absolutely. I don't think if a golden or silver bullet, as you called it, exists. But if it does, let us know. Because
well, I will think about it.
Yeah, exactly. Looking a little bit beyond the traditional retail, what industries or sectors do you draw inspiration from when it comes to implementing IT solutions in retail sector?
What could you repeat that question?
Sure.
The first part.
That was a long question. I don't. So, if you would look beyond traditional retail, I'm wondering if there are any other industries that you draw inspiration when it comes to implementing IT solutions in your sector. So
Okay.
in the sector.
So I think that maybe it's quite obvious, but IT itself, if you track what's happening in IT, how the software houses, for example, are operating, there are some inspiration or some practices that we try to apply also in being non-software house, non-IT company.
Right.
That's something that always work. And quite recently, I started to discover that we have some similarities with the automotive branch, especially when it comes to the testing, because how it works, it's like tested product and you need to release it, and then you don't have much control over what's happening with the product. Here, when you watch the store part of the business, it looks similar. Like, you have some more control. You still can monitor what's happening, but you don't have the full control over how the user, like store staff or the customer, how they are using your products and your software and hardware in the real time. And that's something that I started to see that we have quite common. Like, it's not yet. I'm not yet to advise to say which part of the process we should use or follow, but I start to see that that coincidence again. That can be useful for the future.
Okay. Well, that's indeed. I mean, that's not an obvious similarity, as you mentioned, but if you see some patterns, that's very interesting. Is there any other industry that you draw inspiration or would see some similarities?
Well, there are some. I would say maybe not something that we draw inspiration from, but something that we try to follow when it comes to governance. It's also like the finance, how they are managing usually the policies and so on. And sometimes there is like a kind of dream we would like to have, like that kind of governance level. Like, it's a dream that you would like never to achieve, actually, because it stops all the freedom and the openness of the environment that you have right now. But on a daily basis, you always start to dream about something that you don't get yet. Probably that's something that I would name, like the level of control of the policies and processes that they used to have. But it doesn't mean that we would like to be like finance.
Right, of course, of course. And how do you think IT innovation, and you mentioned that you follow as well tech to know what the latest trends are, and I believe that other industries as well that you mentioned. And how do you think IT innovation or innovation in the industry translates to better customer engagement, loyalty, and satisfaction in retail sector?
So I think that like there is no simple answer, of course. But what I see as the most promising part, let's say, to drive that customer experience, customer engagement, is about how do you use the technologies and the products, the
Mhm.
hardware, software that you have or you can have, uh, to drive the one unique experience of the customer. So like the kind of journey for the shopping. It's like we are quite often asked like why you don't have any e-commerce and
Mhm.
where is your online shop and so on. And that's something
Yes.
that like
Why?
on one hand we are thinking about it, and there are like multiple discussions from years already. Like we try
Okay.
to digest it from different perspectives to actually to ensure that that's the right way of doing.
Mhm.
But I think that what's most important from it is actually how we are going to shape that experience and the journey of the
Of
customer,
course.
because the goal is not always just to sell it virtually without the customer being present. It's how to attract the customer to visit the store, because from what we learned from the customers is like they like visiting the stores. It's still like something that drives the most value for them. They can come, they can experience that shopping, they can interact uh, with the staff there, and
Mhm.
that's something that also is distinguishing Pepco from others. When you go to the store, usually the store staff is like, from my perspective, they are awesome, really. When you start working in Pepco, by the way, you are also the part of the induction is you are trained on the floor, so a few days
Ah,
experience at the store level,
even
and
if you
that's
start
really
in IT, right? In IT, even if
correct.
you start in IT.
Correct.
Okay, that's interesting.
Everyone,
That's very interesting, actually. Yeah.
and from time to time, like every year, we try to repeat that kind of being everyone from the headquarter being in
Okay.
at the store level, helping,
Mhm.
usually during the Christmas period when there is the biggest peak of the in the workload. Uh, and this goes from all of us, like on the lower level to the CEO. So everyone is trying to visit the store, and it's really like eyes opening experience when you actually start seeing what they are experiencing, what the customer is asking for,
Mhm.
and when you watch how great they are doing with the customers, how devoted they are, even like, for you, it's kind of adventure. You go there once a year, twice a year, or something like that. They're doing every day and they still want to do it. And that's something like you see that the desire to help the customers, to have a good relations. Many of the customers that are coming back like already knows them. I was the witness of the conversation between one of the cashiers and the customer when the cashier say, "Oh, hello, welcome back. You haven't been here for a longer time." Well, yeah, I was still. You remember my daughter or something? Having some
Okay.
problems. That's the level of the relation that is happening at the store level, and that's something that is still important for us. So it's rather like from that coming back to the question about how we can enhance that customer experience is how to bring their attention and come to the store, like bring them to the store rather than just exchanging that all experience to some virtual communication. And that's something that I think that this will be really important. How to combine it into kind of omni-channel experience, all the
That's
technologies that will help you driving it. This is something that I would say that in retail will be the most important, not necessarily like the e-commerce itself, which is for some of the businesses it's really important, if not the most important part of the business, but how to drive that I think positively about my company that I buy from. That's something that definitely I look forward and should closer look at how it will evolve.
Of course, and I understand that it's not easy to translate the experience that you can have in the local store to an online experience. I do believe as well that omnichannel gives the opportunity to everybody to buy or to shop in Pepco store. Even people that may not have the access every day to the Pepco store, of course, for various reasons. So you're saying that this has been an ongoing conversation as well at Pepco, and
yes, and it definitely will be.
Okay. Is that something is that something you focus in 2024, or rather?
I wouldn't say that it's a focus for this year, but it's not something that we don't think about, or it's not something that we skipped. It's rather like introducing it properly at the right moment as well. The right moment for the customers and for us.
Okay. Makes sense, absolutely. And considering, this landscape and generally the changing landscape of retail, because I think pandemic, post-pandemic times were like a huge disruptor for retail.
Correct.
Do you see any emerging technologies that are game changers and that are very good to leverage from in retail sector?
Well, obvious answer is AI.
Right. Of course, yeah.
That's something that needs. It's like the obligatory part of every conversation now.
Yeah, buzzword.
Yeah, the buzzword. But to be honest, I think not the AI itself. It's rather like how, or the methods how you're going to harness it will be important. But so far, to be honest, it's so full of that buzz, that all discussion about the AI, that no one actually thinks about the real life application. Like there are some already that start appearing, but usually they are treated like a kind of interesting thing. Hey, look what you can do with the AI, rather than like ready products to be used for the industries, like for example retail. There are already like some of the AI parts that are being introduced into the planning of how you deliver the products, how you replan your stores with the staff and so on. But I think that will be really something that will be really important, and something that has no one technology, let's say, over it. But I would say in our case, it's all related with the Power BI and the reporting, but it's not about how to do that, because it's quite common. It's how to generate the knowledge out of the data that you have. So how to understand the data, how to combine it into like logical pieces that you can actually like derive the knowledge out of it, not just knowing that some numbers has changed, but what it means when it matters. And so I expect that all technologies around that kind of like starting from Power BI, but all connected with the data processing. And here we come into the AI a bit more, or rather the learning engines. That will be really important for the retail for the future. And the second part that is more connected with all those e-commerce and the spiritual presence is all technologies that are connected with the mobile or web applications. That helps you. It's like nothing, I would say, refreshing or something like that, but that's something that will be always at the core for the retailer like we are.
Of course, I mean, I think everybody's using mobile applications these days, so I think it's a natural part as well of this another channel of using the
correct
service.
And again, key will be how to connect it with the your main channel in our case.
Yes.
How to combine, because it's not easy and it's tricky, how to do it without actually tracking the customer or exposing too much data. How to drive that experience.
Yes, absolutely. And the statistics say that 90% of people that got bad experience using the mobile application first time will just skip using it. So it's a really, a demanding market. And I think Poland specifically is very demanding because we have a lot of great IT and digital products that we can use for our everyday lives, and we're a little bit spoiled. But it's a good thing, I guess. So, yeah.
But I think that's right, because we are used to the pace of like, I
Yes.
get it, I like it, or I just throw it,
Yeah.
which is challenging for everyone. But this is something we need to get used to it.
So if it works on Polish market, it will work probably on other markets with
There are even
customers.
some financial companies, usually like Visa, Mastercard, they like to test some new solutions on Polish market due to that kind of like openness to new tech or new fancy tools that can be available.
Yes, absolutely. I think touchless payments were Poland was one of the first markets where it was being tested and used, and then later on other countries were on board as well.
I was surprised recently when I saw that one of the most famous providers were appearing now in Mexico. I think was okay. That was interesting jump, but really good direction.
Right.
So yeah, that's something also that I think we need to learn how to leverage if any of the companies operates at that kind of market like Poland. Is how to leverage, how to use that openness to those experiments, I would say, without sacrificing also the whole experience or whole brand, because sometimes you can try to experiment and not be ready with it, and you will distract the people from coming to your network or your store. So.
Of course, that's the part of the experiment. It can work or it doesn't have to work, right? That's the beauty of it. Okay, Kamil, I have one last question, and I'll move a little bit to your extensive experience, because I'm wondering, what advice would you offer to IT professionals aspiring to lead IT development and quality assurance, so your field, in the retail sector?
I get probably more than one.
Right, it can be. I mean, go ahead.
I think that what I would advise is to stay curious and to get rid of, maybe not get rid because it's difficult, but to learn to manage how to manage your ego and your own state of or your own understanding and the vision of the world, because this gives you the opportunity to learn something new and to discover that there are some other, maybe better ways of doing things. And especially in retail, like you need to be focused on finding the solutions for the issues or for the needs. And when you stay curious, when you stay this kind of open-minded, that will really help you. So it's not about having like the deep understanding of all the techs that your teams are doing. It's about how to understand it, like how to communicate with them, how to understand their point of view, and how to apply it then into the real needs. So yeah, I think stay open-minded, stay curious, and learn. Keep learning.
Right. Brilliant.
As a lifelong advice for everyone, I think, not only for you.
Yes, absolutely. I think so. We can all use that. And so with this beautiful advice, Kamil, I wanted to wrap up our episode today, and thank you very, very much for the very good conversation. I hope you have a good rest of the Tuesday, which is, this busiest day of the week.
Yes,
so
let's
stay home
let's
and
try to use it as much as
exactly.
possible. Thanks for invitation. It was a pleasure to talk to you. In case of any questions, I'm always available and like to explain anything I can.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kamil. Have a good day on your end and take care.
Thank you. Same for you. Bye.
Bye-bye.